2, 1. It should be recording because it says so. So,
Okay.
how are you, Puvin?
Doing very good, my old friend. Doing very, very good.
Old
Thank you.
friend. Yeah, last time we did this was, I think it was in a car and we were driving around Sunway. And then that it turned out, I just stopped. I don't know for what reason, but I just stopped. Maybe we should just like consider uploading this as the entire thing in the podcast format because last time I tried doing the podcast using the app called Stitcher. Not Stitcher, I think
Anchor.
Anchor. Yeah,
Yeah,
Anchor.
anchor.
They help you do everything from publishing to hosting all the stuff.
Hmm.
Really good app. Yeah, then I just stopped because I also don't know why. It's like back then at the time it's like there's a difficulty in creating. So that's why I just suddenly stopped making it.
Really, it wasn't the easiest to create podcasts.
Okay. To create podcasts, it depends on what type of format you're pursuing. If it's like a blog or vlog type of podcast, then I think it needs to has like a structure to it. If you don't have a structure, right, then the listeners will just feels like a big confusing mess. So I think the last time I did it was like maybe you can say it's like giving the thoughts of the day, the idea of the day, or what I'm feeling at that moment in time. So the entire podcast is basically a big mess, I think. So that's why it never got really, really interesting, especially for me because I don't like doing it that way. So that's why most of the podcasts right now you listen, right, it's always have people on the other side being interviewed or talking to someone. So it's much more easier because you just basically just sit there and let the other person talk. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think everything got pros and cons lah. Even
Mm.
video, you got to find, you got to know what the audience need. You got to know what the demand is currently is. You got to know what is hyped or trending and stuff like that.
Mm.
It's not easy.
Not easy, not easy. And especially it's like if it's not easy when you are or maybe people are prone to focus on the numbers, right? The numbers of views what you're getting, the numbers of followers you're getting. So if you do it in that way, then you feel like a sense of pressure, right, to keep on getting the numbers to grow up instead of actually doing something that you think is meaningful. So a lot of people, I experienced it before. So it's like you just feel it's not paying off. Like you feel your effort put in is like
Yeah,
wasted and not getting
yeah,
the numbers growth.
yeah.
So
I know
it's
how that
just a
feels.
really, really sad type of like a
It's
downshift
it
in the terms of mood or motivation, then you stop posting anymore. Yeah.
yeah, it's not a sad thing, but it really
Mm.
does question you. Like, is this what you want to do? Because if you're always looking at the numbers, you're not going to get motivated.
Mm. So what do you think? Like how do people should go to pursue this type of making videos? Do they do stuff that they hate for numbers? Do they do stuff they like but care less about numbers?
Okay,
Or do they, yes.
something that I've learned from others, but I've never experienced it.
Mm,
In the beginning, you go after numbers.
mm,
You just there's a theory that says say yes to everything, but
mm,
only in the beginning. After one point, you got to learn how to say no to everything, but only yes to a few number. That's when you
mm,
become a master in something really. So same goes to numbers. First, you look at quantity. Get all the quantity as much as you can. You forget about what your passion. You forget about everything. Serve the community first. All numbers, 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 numbers. Until you hit that number, like your money, your income, your weight, all these numbers thing is quantity. After you hit the number, then you focus on quality. In the beginning, you shouldn't focus on quality because you'll never reach your target. So go
mm,
with quantity first, and once you know you already reached somewhere, then you change to quality in whatever you're pursuing. So this is something I learned from my mentor, but I've never really done it because
mm,
I don't think I'm in the working field. I'm still a student doing my
mm,
final semester. So God
mm.
knows how it will go.
Oh, there's a short break in your. I cannot hear the last sentence because there's an internet connection problem. Okay, so
Uh,
just now you mentioned it's your final semester.
yeah. So it's
Mm,
my final semester, so that's why I haven't experienced it myself. Personally, I started a business before, and I think I stopped too soon.
mm.
That's my biggest thing. I stopped too soon already.
Stop
In
to.
reality, yeah, in
Mm,
reality, I don't think I stopped so soon because I just paused and continued my studies. But
mm,
after my studies, I'm thinking of continuing. In fact, now I'm working for a company doing what I've done before, so
mm.
that's easy.
Okay, this is very interesting because you brought up stopping too soon. Like
Mm.
right now, I'm at the point of contemplating. Right, am I at the point that I should be stopping what I'm doing, which is freelance video making. So right now I'm making videos for small businesses, especially around Klang Valley. Then they just hire me based on what they need. But I started this 3 months ago. So back in April 2019, April of this year, I started out with zero. Okay, nobody wanted to pay me to make the videos. Then right now started to get some traction 3 months later. So with that said, there is also the pressure from the family side because the bills are definitely stacking up. So I'm not making maybe it's the way I price myself, or maybe the way I yeah, I think it's the price problem because I'm not making the minimum to carry out this what you say survival lifestyle, right? Because I have a number to hit every month. The number is probably around the middle thousands. Okay, so I'm not making that middle thousand, but I'm still making something compared to 3 months ago. So this is the, I think it's like a human or self-imposed type of pressure because like sure the easiest way to get out of this is just to go work part-time or go and get into a full-time corporate well-paying job, then do this on the weekends or do this on your public holidays or whatever days off. Okay, so right now it's just at the point, am I going to stop too soon? I don't know. Like how do you know when to stop too soon? Is there a way to know, or like, or does the bills start to get over your head, then you should stop, or what?
That's a very good question because to answer that, it all
Mm,
depends on individual. Everyone has different scenario, so
mm,
I don't know how to answer that. I've never come in that situation where you're pressured to start thinking about your bills and everything.
mm,
Uh, okay, one of our friends, to your listeners,
mm,
one of our friend thinks she pointed out very good point. You work
mm,
at the same time you do your passion. Do not, instead of thinking binary like black and white thinking,
yeah.
like I stop this, I start this, I start this, I stop it. Instead of thinking like that, you can
Mm,
spend 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. doing a full-time job, the rat
mm,
race, and then after you're done with your job, you come back home. I mean, it's kind of obvious that you are tired, you're exhausted, and
yeah.
everything. But if it's truly something, that's when
Mm,
you are tested. You're tested. Like, is this really what you want? Is this really what you do? You don't
mm,
look at the numbers when you're patient now. Uh, I For the past few weeks,
mm,
especially these past few weeks, I've been going through a lot of stress,
mm,
a stress that I've never had before on
mm,
what should I do after graduation. I'm very afraid because I
mm,
don't know will I get a job or what. I'm majoring in entrepreneurship, so that major itself is not joining a job; it's literally starting a job.
mm,
I'm pressured, and I ask myself what I want, what I want, what I want for years. And then
mm,
now I looking back, I think the most common thing is related to business and arts.
mm,
Business and art, so somewhere around there. Because I've been doing photography for like 15 years now. Business is something I just interested in like past 5 years. So
mm.
it's around that. I shouldn't like think of changing to law or doctor and things like that. Um, when should you stop? I don't think if it's your passion, you shouldn't stop. You should decrease it and do another job to get that money, a stable income. And if you don't think that's your passion, then you should face the reality. You should know, this is it. It's hard to face the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really tough, especially when you have to like, especially if you are living like a public life, right?
What
Yeah,
do you mean
when
by public life?
like if you are out there telling people, oh, you're gonna do this, oh, you're gonna do that, but then there comes a point where you have to adapt, right? You cannot be doing what you say you want to do anymore because it's maybe not the right time or you're too early. So yeah, because right now with social media, especially with everything, the especially like 5G, instant connectivity, people are definitely paying very close attention to whatever you're posting, even your background, like what are you eating and all those stuff to get like a brief snapshot of where you're at in life, right? So it says a lot because I noticed that a lot of people they like to PR themselves, public relations themselves as a successful person that always like wakes up early in the morning to do this, do that, be a
I,
productive lifestyle, right? So it's easy to be a to put like a fake image of
identity.
yourself, yeah, fake identity that you create for yourself.
I um, uh, I forget this saying. It has to do with time.
Mm,
Someone, I don't forget who said it or how it goes, but only time will tell the truth. If it's something really true,
mm,
time will tell. If it's
mm,
something fake, also time will tell. You see who lasts long in this game. If you're really into something, then you can
mm,
see like people posting productivity are really productive, not.
mm. Yeah, the thing that you brought up about time is I really enjoy making all those like daily videos to upload to Instagram, YouTube, whatever. Because it shows a progression of time, right? It shows like all these things doesn't happen overnight, or you can see something maybe slowly developing itself. So like you watch back in the day, maybe 2 years ago, or maybe 14 months, 16 months ago, Casey Neistat was still doing this daily vlogging thing.
Right, I know, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I
it's
miss
very
all his
nice to
daily work.
watch.
Yeah, I
Then you
know.
can see as time goes by, his office started to get bigger and bigger, started to having more stuff in his office. Then you can see the time progression. Or you can watch even Gary Vee, who did a lot, thousands of episodes of his stuff. Then you can
Right.
see as time goes by, he gets much more slimmer in terms of his body size, in terms of his facial features.
Thank you.
So you can see the time progression and it goes. And you can tell he's consistent. Even back if you watch the videos from 2009, right? The way he speaks, the way he acts, the way he curses, like he say
His
fucks and lot.
Yeah, his words, his
Mm,
whatever he says, he practice. He practice what he preaches for
yeah.
like years. That's amazing. That's amazing, guy. Casey Neistat and Gary Vaynerchuk. Another thing, I think as Malaysian,
Mm,
personally, we can look up to these people. We can get few points, but we can never live up to them because their economy is different, their culture is different, their demands are different, their government is different, their
mm,
way of lifestyle different, and on top of everything, it's New York.
yeah.
If America, like Kansas, like uh, Iowa, it's
Mm,
a whole different culture already. Then
yeah.
there's Malaysia. Malaysia is completely different. I learned this the hard way when I speak to my Malaysian friends here and I speak
Mm,
to companies here.
mm,
It's not like US. The culture is very different. But that doesn't mean there isn't opportunity to be successful.
mm.
You can be. It's just what is it? Who has done it? Who can I
Mm.
learn from? Things like that.
Okay. In a moment, I'm gonna ask you to get specific into the differences between the American and Malaysian culture. But the one thing I want to say right now is that in terms of size, okay, the size of the US versus the size of Malaysia is also plays a big difference because in the US you have like a 19 trillion Okay, 19 trillion of the
Dollars.
economic gross domestic product, the GDP thing, right? So it's a big number, 19 trillion. Malaysia, I think we only have 1 trillion ringgit going on. 1 trillion ringgit is about 300 or maybe 400 billion US dollar, depending on the current exchange rate and whatever. Okay,
It's
so
kind of bad.
really, really small compared to America. So with America, and that's said, you have a much more bigger slice of the pie to go along to all these different people, right? You have space program that gets maybe 4 or 5 billion, but that is only 1 or 2% of the entire GDP. The GDP is so big, and 4 billion US dollar is still a lot of money. So it's just a bigger, bigger things, like more money to go around. So that's why you have more people doing weird stuff and still getting paid pretty good in America. You have people who are reviewing instant ramen. There's one very well-known person that reviews instant ramen rater. His website is called. So he's getting paid and sponsored pretty good, maintains his lifestyle because America is still a big country. There's a lot of money being spent or going in circulation. So people who are doing like really funny things can also earn a living over there. I recently just watched one YouTube video. It's about this person shining shoes in New York, and he gets about 900 US dollar a day just from shining shoes. So it's able to maintain his lifestyle because, as you know, America, New York is so big.
Yeah. Have you been
Okay,
to New York?
no, not yet.
Oh, dude. Oh man.
You've been
It's
to New York.
I've got invited for an event and stuff, so I had to go, and I fall in love with New York. I love New York the most.
Why? Why? What's so special?
I don't know. It's okay. You have been to Bukit Bintang. You've seen the crowd in
Mm,
New York. You see that in every single street. Transport is a piece of cake. You can
mm,
just grab this bus at any minute. You can go anywhere in New York, Manhattan, Queens, Brooklyn, anywhere, anyway. On
mm,
top of everything, nobody judges you. You walk around naked, people will just look at you, but nobody will stop you. You
mm,
do something crazy, nobody will stop you.
mm,
In Kansas, it's 100% opposite. People will stare at you on the road saying, wow, okay, there's an Asian guy, there's a brown guy crossing. But
mm,
in New York, in one street, the street I lived in, there was 20 different language. So imagine
mm.
that. I love the diversity in New York. That's one thing.
Yeah. New York is special.
Special, special.
Special.
I,
It's a lot of a lot of misfits gathered up in one place.
right, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really, I was walking to this restaurant and I saw
Mm,
like three people, like they want to play Uno. I don't know what came into me. I just went to them and say, hey, can I join? They said, yeah, sure,
mm,
just sit down. And I just started playing at like 11 p.m. in the night next to my house. There's next to my apartment. There's
mm,
these kids playing Uno. So I just joined them randomly and we had fun for like half an hour like that. That's fun.
mm. Like how familiar are you with the Uno rules? Because I heard
Uh,
recently there is a big clarification going on in Uno. It's about the reverse Uno card or whatever card.
okay, no,
And
I don't know the news, but
mm,
I think I'm good enough. I think I'm very clear with the Uno rules. But when I was playing with them, they had a different set of rules. So it's a bit
mm,
confusing. That some people follow numbers, some people follow color. Some people say you can only put one card at a time. Some people
mm,
say you can put only numbers straight. So it depends. Depends on
mm,
which region you're playing with. Who's the boss of the card?
mm.
Yeah.
Okay. So to get really specific about the different culture between Malaysia and US and you experience it, what is the specific differences? It's like the way they work, the way they talk, or is it just the entire attitude towards something? What makes it different? When you say you say there's a difference.
I don't know. Biggest I I don't know which is the biggest difference.
Mm,
I can name you a few that
mm,
I've seen. Uh, Number one is the food.
mm,
cannot find good food like in Malaysia. US just unhealthy. Economy wise, I don't know so much about Malaysia because I've not lived here for long. I was living there longer.
Mm.
And the economy there, I'm not sure is it good or bad, but I know there's opportunity. I can
Mm.
see opportunity everywhere all the time. So that's one thing. Compared to Malaysia, I
Mm.
don't know. Um, US is changing. Like
How?
millennials are taking
Mm.
over. Millennials was taking over. Right now, millennials are in charge, so they are the decision maker. And with
Mm.
millennials, we were born into the world of technology. We get to see the before internet and after internet. So there's a
Mm.
big shift. And on top of everything, Generation Z is coming up. They are stepping into the working industry. And when Generation Z starts coming in, who are born in the internet age,
Mm.
it's even bigger change. Malaysian, there is, but we
Mm.
are not strong enough. We say we are. I don't know. Personally, I feel like we say we are,
Mm.
and we're working hard.
Mm.
But yeah, that's that. I don't know. There's nothing more. Or maybe I just don't pay attention to Malaysia.
Mm. Like the difference, I think, like you can tell between Malaysia and US, right, is the way they approach confrontation.
100% true.
Yeah.
Very true.
So in America, right, they will straight up stand for what they feel is wrong. Like even doesn't matter if it's wrong or right, absolutely okay. If they feel something is misplaced or injustice occur, they will straight away stand up and just make a big noise out of it. But whereas in Malaysia, right, I say this because I lived here, I constantly commute in the public space, right? So you can see this in trains where people, you can tell, is there a willingness to stand up for the woman to sit or stand up for a pregnant or old lady to sit, old person to sit, right? So Malaysia tends to be, and this is my personal opinion, is tends to be more towards to keyboard warrior. If you can remain anonymous, you can stay hidden without your name or your face shown, they can be as loud as they want. Yeah, they can go on to Facebook, create a fake account, put on a nice photo of a fake someone, then they can just type all the comments, all the toxic, like sometimes it get racist, you know. If you look at the comments and scroll through about bottom down enough, you can see some of the stupid racial bullshit that is coming out because it's hidden, they're anonymous.
That's
So
the thing.
yeah, I
I
think
feel
we are
like I feel like what you say is very true. And the reason why they stay anonymous is fear. They fear that the government come after them and
mm,
stuff. Also, like you remember you point out that
mm,
in US it's a big country.
mm,
People who want to confront that, they naturally find their clique, their
mm,
gang. So once they find their gang, they are a bit more confident to stand up. Here there's like 1%, 2%. And
yeah,
then that 2%, one in Kuching and another one in like Perak. It's
yeah.
like they have the same problem, but they both are anonymous online fighting for one another. So it- the the wave is not high enough to make a difference.
Mm.
But I still do believe change is possible. It might take some time, but it is very much possible.
There's this funny thing that comes with change. You have to wait for the old to die out, then you need to get the new to come in.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But then it's unfortunate you always have a bunch of old people still there. You always get a supply of old
Do
people.
you
So,
do you
mhm.
think uh, do you think old people can change if you
I
were
think
to?
it's I think it's hard. I think it's hard for them to change, right? Because they grew up in a certain way. They grew up with this ideology or the way of life that they believe is going to be the way of life for the future. So that's why it's hard for them to change, right? Like if you tell, like for example, you can see it right now. If you tell your parents you can make a living just playing video games, they would straight away tell you to wake up, go back to study, right? But it's actually proven in some parts of the world that you can actually make a living playing games or streaming online. Even if you're not that good, you can still make a few hundred ringgit, few $100. So it just like
There's no logic that's going on in their brains. Like, where's the logic?
I don't think it's logic. Like if you were to ask yourself the same questions, I don't think it's logic. I think it's the way they grew up. Like if you were to tell a person who is from the Soviet Union era, born up in the Soviet Union, Russia, okay, so they don't have a choice. They have to like swallow whatever they have on the table as food.
Mm-hmm.
Opportunities are limited. You either go to the US for your freedom, and back in the days, okay, there is a lot of value placed on the degrees that you are getting. So there is a lot of emphasis because when you get the degree, it's basically a gateway to get good paying job. So I think it's just the environment, the context, and then it's just the overall mentality of that era. So if, like for example, right now we have a big talk that's going on throughout the world that is automation and AI. So if you were to tell us right now, okay, when we grew up, when we're in our 40s, the young people, they say, you don't have to work hard anymore. You just sit there, the robots take care of it. Because eventually, if you have an optimistic point of view, the robots will come in, they'll make everything cheaper. The price will go down because everything is optimized to the max. So 24/7, a robot can do everything around the clock. They don't even get the rest times. So things will eventually be cheaper to get hold of because of automation. Then enabling people to just make a few ringgit or a few dollars to just buy whatever they need. Then they just spend the rest of the days creating entertainment for other people. So eventually you have a global population of 7 or 8 billion that is constantly creating individual content or individual entertainment for individuals, not for the masses. So it's just
You know,
the environment that we grow up. So even the future people, we may not understand how the world works in the future 10 years or 20 years later.
exactly.
So we don't expect the old generation to understand what we are going through because it's just a total different mindset.
It's totally different mindset, but I think you can adapt, right? Because I know a number of old people. They're
Mm,
willing to learn how to use iPad. They're
mm,
willing to learn how to use virtual reality and navigate using the VR headsets and stuff, which I myself don't know. So it takes willingness to accept change and constant learning. If you're comfortable where you're at, you're not going to learn anymore.
mm,
Like today, I have one example.
mm,
Today I downloaded the update on the new Samsung phone,
mm,
and there's no back button or home button. You got like slide up to go back, slide up to go home,
mm,
or I can change the option to have the home button permanently. So I
mm,
decided to make a change. Let me just adapt to the future. And I'm
mm,
not used to it yet. I always tekan. I
mm,
always click on it rather than like swipe up.
mm,
It's so weird, but I know you have to accept some things. You cannot always think you are the boss. If you think
mm.
you're very comfortable, you slowly drift backwards in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. About automation, if you ask me the difference in Malaysia and in US, right?
Mm,
Automation is a very big thing.
mm,
I did studies on machine learning, artificial intelligence, and all. People need to take it seriously, like the rules and regulation, because once it's up and running,
mm.
it's hard to control the policy, the government rules around it. And Malaysia, I don't think we haven't barely scratched anything yet. We're just adapting from other countries and stuff.
Yeah. I think for okay, it depends on which type of automations you're talking about. But if you're talking generally, then I think the automation will come from either the China or US, right? But I think it's more likely to happen in the US because the US definitely has the labor shortage and especially with the trade war going on. the US would definitely be much more incentivized to make automation a priority so they don't have to rely on the manufacturing plants of China. So China, they don't place it as top priority because they have 1 billion people to feed. So automation, I believe, most likely is going to come from the Western world because they want to severe the reliability on China or the Asian manufacturing plants, right? Because we essentially in Asia, right here, including China, Malaysia, we have a lot of human. Okay, so countries like us that is heavily reliant on getting
Labor.
money to pay people, pay labor, yes, pay labor, we are less reliant to adapt or adopt this automation technology. Whereas in US, the labor is much more expensive. They would
Right.
probably gonna have a higher priority to make automation a thing. So with that
True.
said, I don't think it's coming here to Malaysia as soon, but it's hard to say, right? So maybe wrong, but we are not fucking economists. We are just two normal person here talking shit, right? And it's,
I mean, no matter what,
mm,
something is going to happen at
yeah,
one point. So it's good to talk bullshit rather than talk the same thing again and again and again.
yeah, and I think like I don't know if you're familiar with what is going on in China, but China right now is having a breakthrough in terms
In
of
stock market.
payment, payment,
In,
the paying money industry. Like if you talk about US, right, or you have cashless, uh, like Apple Pay or all this stuff,
yeah, yeah.
China is really doing it on a scale that is not seen in the US.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
I
really
know. I
mind-boggling.
I know Alipay. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, Alipay, right? You have all these small transactions. Like I'm not familiar with it, but I know little bit in terms of if you go to a supermarket, a wet market, okay, wet market is like all those pasar raya and all those stuff, usually on the streets. They can just take your phone, connect it with this Alipay. It could be like Bank of China and all this stuff, but Alipay is just one of the known examples. So you have the Alipay app, and you just scan the QR code, and the transaction is done through the QR code. Malaysia is also having this, but it's not as widespread as in China. So Malaysia, you have the Maybank QR thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, some of the stores they have this, but in China they have it on the streets itself. So if you go to the jalan, okay, you can say like pasar pagi, where the people are yelling, where you
yeah,
can smell the fish, right?
yeah,
So they are actually doing this on that scale.
yeah.
So
Okay,
China is crazy.
China is crazy. Imagine this. I went to Genting Highlands. You know,
Mm,
Genting Highlands is very popular. It's a tourist spot. I just
mm,
came back from Genting today. I went to like 5 or 6 different outlets that I need to pay money. I
mm,
had I had Maybank debit card,
mm,
and yet I didn't even use it once because I cannot use it. Everywhere requires cash,
mm.
and they have ATM machine everywhere. I'm like, why? Why? This is. I know I'm not a tourist here, but I'm a
Mm,
Malaysian. This is my country. Why can I use my own Maybank public bank card?
mm.
They all need cash. The theme park needed cash. I don't know, certain places needed cash. I was like, oh my god, it's not convenient.
No. And I think it's likely to do with the internet connectivity or something like that.
Maybe.
Because Malaysia's internet is still really expensive. We have
Really?
we have initiatives going on with the government. They're trying to reduce the internet price, but personally, I think it's still expensive, right? So that's why you have the rural areas that are not getting connected as much. I think maybe the the price expensiveness comes in terms of the telcos, the telecommunication companies. They have this huge upfront infrastructure investment that they have to make just to bring internet connectivity to
Oh,
those
yeah.
rural areas. So that's why they are passing either the cost to us urban people to pay for those people who are living in the rural areas. just to make sure everything is balanced. But it's just really, personally, I think it's just expensive, right? They should probably have a package, 8 ringgit, where you get 2 gigs of data, something like that. That helps a lot of people. Because nowadays, if you look at the phone plan, you do not need any talk time to call people. You do not need any SMS to send. All you need is just data, and then you can just call people through WhatsApp, call people through Messenger. Nobody even uses the SMS anymore. Like the SMS, I tell you this, the SMS, the phone calls, right? They are all done by scammers. They are
Yeah.
all done by scammers nowadays. Nobody that is your friend or your workers, your boss would use the phone services or the SMS anymore. Like I open up all my SMS, it will always be either the
DG,
DG or those stuff,
Axis. Yeah.
or somebody asking if I need a loan or not. Always could be all those stuff. So nobody uses the text messaging. Yeah.
So, yeah, I tried calling people normal call because I'm here for like a month. I'm going to go back US to complete my final semester. So I use normal call. Nobody want to pick up the phone. They're afraid. They're afraid scammers are calling. I like, why? Why don't you just pick up the phone? That's funny.
Yeah, it's true. And I think there's a behavior shift in terms of people,
True.
the way they treat a phone call as compared to a text message. And I see this in myself, right? When I get a phone call, no matter it's from anybody, right? I have this sense of annoyance. I feel annoyed that this person is calling me. Right? When you think about the behavior of a call or the psychology of a call,
Yeah.
it will be at the time that you are most convenient to call someone. So a phone call nowadays is basically an act of selfishness. The most selfish thing you can do right now is to call people. Because when you call people, you are basically you're the one who is free, but you never check or never have the courtesy to ask the receiver, are they free to talk on the phone? So you just make the call, the phone rings, then the person will pick up, usually will pick up annoyed or sleepy or something like that. Then it'll just be the end of the conversation, something like that. Yeah.
I know. I 100%. Not many people think like you, but thinking about it, yeah, it makes sense. I've done marketing before, and they always say the best time to call is usually after dinner or before dinner when they're really going back home very happy, positive thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny. It's true though. It's true.
So true.
I think it's about the US and America. Oh, one more thing. There's 7 billion people, right? Currently. A few years ago, it was 7 billion. In year 2025, the United Nations have predicted to have 10 billion. That's 3 billion extra. It is like 60,000 years of Homo sapiens switching. 60, I think it was 600,000 or 60,000, around that, to reach 7 billion. And the extra 3 billion is like in the span of 7-8 years. And overpopulation is so real that if only one person like Elon Musk is thinking about it, it's going to be a big problem. Oh, one more thing. You're asking about when to stop early. I think a person shouldn't stop early because no matter what field of area you choose, let's say it's like circle, more people are coming in. A lot of people are coming in. So you'll not be successful down. The graph of success, like you're not successful, and then there's a tipping point or an exponential graph. You hit the target, it goes up. And they go up, it doesn't make sense. It just shoots up. Yeah. So if you stop too early, you wouldn't know. If you stop too soon, you might make the right choice because your opportunity cost is there. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we are just way too short-sighted to see the long run.
Wait, do you have a mentor?
No, don't have mentor. Why?
I okay, I personally believe that. Okay, I don't say personally believe, I really do believe in this.
Mm.
It's something called law of 33%,
Mm.
which means 33% of people you surround with, it
Mm.
has to be someone lower than you. Not by age, not by wealth or anything, but by knowledge
Mm.
or how much you've experienced. So let's say your younger brother or someone younger than you, naturally someone younger and inexperienced. So you can
Mm.
have the opportunity to teach. You can teach. By teaching, you're learning. Then the other 33% is someone around your expertise. Like
Mm.
you have videography, you have another friend who's your level, you can share. He can find new trends, you can find new trends, you can share the what's trending and stuff. And the last 33% is someone who has been there, done that, know how what to avoid. Like if you do this, they know it won't success. So don't do that. Don't waste your time doing that. So right now, personally, once I'm done graduating, I really want a mentor, someone who I can look up to, someone I can learn from. So if I have any question, I can ask. I can tell that guy or the girl, I've done this and it didn't work. What should I do? Then the fellow will say, okay, just do this another 5 more times. You'll see a
Mm.
breakthrough because I've done the same thing before.
Mm.
That's why it's very important to have a mentor or someone you can ask and will answer you. But make sure it's the same person because everyone is different. There's no such thing as right answer or wrong answer. It's just perspective.
Mm.
So make sure you follow that one person until you reach your target. That's not very.
So where do you go and find these people?
You can find these people anywhere. I think the easiest place to start off is from who you already know.
Mm.
Like right now, you love, let's say, videography.
Mm.
In your circle of friends, see who is already a videographer. Your first degree of connection.
Mm.
Then you ask your friends who are already in videography that do they know some other videographers who is bigger than them or more well known, more experienced, depending on what you're looking for. And then they'll give you the contact. Then you personally go and see them. You don't send message or these type of people are extremely busy. If they're famous, they won't reply you. Set an appointment, set a date, just randomly go out lunch one day and tell this person what you want. And in return, say whether you can help them or like do free, like Gary Vaynerchuk, what he says, in return you do for them free management or free marketing, and in return to answer your question. That's what D-Rock did for Gary Vaynerchuk. That's one example.
Mm.
In return, like, it's the act of kindness in return, since you're learning a lot from this person you look up to. On top of everything, you get free knowledge from them. Free knowledge, sometimes free equipment. I had one mentor once.
Mm.
He's a photographer, wedding photographer. He's number one in Wichita right now. After a few months ago, only, he became number one. He taught me a lot. He borrowed me his cameras and stuff, so that was very nice. Wait, hold on. Yeah, Ashni. I'm interviewing. I've been interviewed by a friend. Yeah, friend. Okay. Yeah, sister. Sorry. That's
Yeah.
it. I think it's very, very, very important because in times like this where you're confused, you got no one to look up to besides your parents who was only telling you to get a job. At
Mm.
least you have someone up there who has been there, done that, and you can tell your parents, look at this fella. This fella has done what I've been doing, and he's making millions right now. So I'm following his words.
It's very
Best.
good.
Yeah, I think it's very, very important. Now I read. I mean, I'm majoring in entrepreneurship,
Mm.
and I read. If you can see, like,
Oh, lag. It's lagging.
yeah. Okay. Can you see a list of books
Yeah,
here?
I can. Okay.
And what you see is just first layer. At the back of those books, there's more books also. It's
Mm.
all has to do with psychology, economics, and business and stuff. And almost every single book speaks about mentorship. You really need to look up at someone because you cannot do it alone. You are not alone, basically. Everything is
Mm.
connected one way or another. So find the person who's been there, done that, and instead of suffering for 10 years, you can only suffer for 5 years. Yeah.
Interesting. it's never occurred to me that the mentor is that important, right? And I think there's this negative connotation attached to the mentor, especially maybe in Asian mindset, right? When you
Yeah.
ask people to be your mentor, they would always 100%, I'll guarantee you, okay, you can just tell me if I'm wrong, that the person who's asked to be a mentor will say, what's in it for me? You know,
Oh,
what can you do? Do I get paid? Do I get free lunch? Something like that, right? So, like I personally asked a few friends, right, people that I known throughout the years. Okay, maybe they are maybe not that close anymore, but known him a long time ago. Then because he works in this internet side of things, right? He sells like cyber security software type of things. So I just asked him, hey, you did all these things. So I'm just want to ask you questions, and do you mind if I record it for my documentation journey? Then he said, what's in it for me? Do I get free lunch? Something like that. So it's like, I just it's just like
deep.
forget about it. It's way too much effort. So
I,
then I
I,
just
I have a short saying for that.
mm,
Two things. Number one, uh, the example I had, like I had a mentor before this, his name is Eric.
mm,
He's the photographer right now. He's number one in Wichita, the wedding photographer.
mm,
He didn't ask me, I didn't tell him that I wanted to be his mentor. I just said, can I work for you for free? In return, I would like to know how you take photos.
mm,
I only asked him once, and then I give him my phone number. Like 3 days later, I contact him saying, "Hey, are you going to any wedding?" He said, "Yeah, sure. You can drop by with your camera." Then over time, he called me for like every once a week. He called me for event he goes. I just become assistant photographer for him for free. He doesn't pay me, but in return, I learn his style. He always talk to me, telling, "Okay, Puvin, stand there. Can you see the light? You need this setting. You need to do this. If people say like this, if
mm,
in business, if they ask you this much, you set this price." I learn so much in return. And what I give him, he didn't say he needs anything back. He didn't say anything. I offered him, I can be your assistant photographer for free. Um, so the thing there is, don't say you want to become their mentor, and offer them first. And the second thing I wanted to tell is, people who are like that, who tell you, do I get free lunch and stuff like that, you can easily kick them out your list. There's so
mm,
many other people out there that you can go after. So you don't have to waste your time with this just one person. If he
mm.
say no, you move on. You have a list, you set priority, this number one, two, three. So you just cancel. Tak jadi cancel. Tak jadi cancel. You don't stick to that one person. Time is valuable.
Yeah.
That's what I did lah. That's how I got. The time that guy was top five in
Mm,
Wichita, so I tried asking the first out of five people I asked. Sorry, 12 people I remember now. 12 people, only two answered. The two answered, they were top three.
mm,
The number of the first person in Wichita and the third person in Wichita. The others all ignored my email and message.
mm.
So I was so lucky. I got opportunity to work with the first in Wichita and the third in Wichita. So you just ignore the others if they don't answer.
How do you find this top five? Do you just Google search top five in Wichita?
I didn't. I Google search. I just
Mm,
say best photographers in Wichita, and then
mm,
the first page give you a good number of lists. I went to all the lists. I think there was like 12, so I click on all 12, and then from there I find the contact email and the phone number. So
mm,
if I'm semangat that day, my voice is good, positive thoughts, I
mm.
give them a call straight. You told me like you don't think about them, you just give them a call. But if
Yeah.
you feel you wanna 100% nail this, you email them one by one by one. Just gently tell them, hey, can I meet you? When will you be free? Can I join you for lunch today? I look up to your work. Praise them a bit. Praise them. Say, don't come out of the blue like, hey,
Mm.
I Google search you. You're the man. Can I work for you? Be my mentor for the next 6 months. Wait, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so you need to know how to ask politely. When people say no, just move on. It's hard, like, it's heartbreaking when people you look up. Elon Musk look up to Neil Armstrong, and Neil Armstrong burned him, and he actually cried in an interview. That's Elon Musk, and today he is sending a lot of astronauts to International Space Station.
That fucker is planning to go to the Mars, you know. He's going
Yeah,
to Mars.
and Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon, burned him.
Yeah.
Elon Musk went to Neil Armstrong, and Neil Armstrong said, what you do is impossible. You cannot do it. Forget it. And I watched the interview, and I want to buy his book and read his autobiography. Tough life. He's a smart guy, though. He's a very smart guy.
He's very smart, especially ever since he been on that Joe Rogan show, right, where he talked about
He became famous.
automation cars, AI, and all those stuff. He is a technical guy. He's a technical guy. He is engineering based, so everything he explains, especially the physics, he explains it really clear and concise. He knows the stuff. Yeah. He's not someone that is like a show and tell. He actually knows and understand how to explain. Like for example, the one thing that sticks in my mind is the flying car. So if you were to create a flying car, right, the amount of noise that it generates will surely piss a lot of people out.
Yeah.
Because it needs a lot of lift just to go up. So all those lift you either have to come from an engine, right? So the engine have to be really loud and heavy. So he actually makes a really I may be saying it like because I'm not an engineer or maybe I don't really go into physics that much, so I don't know how to explain the flying car, but he explains it really nice and easy to understand. Yeah.
Yeah. Albert Einstein once said, if you know it well enough, you can explain it simple. Yeah. He is a smart guy. He has his problems, like he has relationship problem and ego towards the government, but he has his bright sides also.
The guy is definitely doing something crazy. I think he is the few people, the few people who are actually doing something important right now in terms of what they're doing. So nobody is changing the world as much as Elon Musk, right?
Jeff Bezos.
You can say Amazon's Jeff Bezos, but I think in terms of actually changing, I think Elon Musk is definitely the guy right now on planet Earth. Because what he's doing is he's powering electric cars. Then he has he has an energy company,
Solar City.
Solar City going on right now that goes into solar farming. Then he has this space exploration. So, like if you look at the grand scale of things, he is trying to save the world through stopping people to burn coal or burn petrol. So he introduced electric cars and stuff. If all else fails and nobody adapts or buys the electric car, he can just shoot himself to Mars. He can just go on to his space exploration company and go to Mars.
Nobody is stopping him. That's the best part. I mean, everyone did try to stop him, but yet he has came through so many barriers.
He is the person that is definitely the one to look out right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
the one that actually changed the world.
Yeah.
Like you can have a lot of things that like quote unquote change the world, revolutionary, but you're not actually doing anything if you have the latest phone that can flip inwards, outwards, folding things, right? The phone is just still a phone. So people are still burning petrol, people are still wasting energy. So in order to actually harness all this energy to get people to go into green, there's a bit of lag. There's a bit of lag. I think we have to. Okay.
Ever since I came back to Malaysia, I noticed one thing, like, because I personally like Mother Nature, the environment and everything, and you know how this thing about plastic is going on. So I questioned yeah, you know how serious it is.
Don't get me started on plastic.
Don't get me started on plastic. Okay, I just want to say one thing. I asked myself, who should you change? Is it selling biodegradable plastic to the consumer, or what you should change? My answer to that is you go to companies that produce plastic and offer them a solution to produce biodegradable plastic and sell it. Because these companies are the ones giving to hawkers, to restaurant, to kedai mama. Because these are the majority of people who are using plastic bag and throwing it on the street. It's not. It's not the. It's not the expensive consumer, the rich consumers that are getting all this cheap plastic. The expensive consumers, they are using biodegradable plastic by default already. It's the people who are not living rich, who don't get these messages, who are using all this plastic and throwing it away. So you are targeting the wrong person trying to solve a big problem. So instead, why don't you just go find the main plastic distributor who's giving all this, go and offer them your solution instead of changing the consumer's mind. You get my point? Like instead of solving the problem, why don't you solve the source of the problem?
So to summarize what you're saying is you want the makers, the manufacturer of the plastic to
Exactly.
push out more biodegradable stuff to everybody and
Yeah,
not instead of those high-end grocery stores or high-end hawker
yeah,
centers.
yeah. We don't talk about globalize. We don't talk about saving Mother Nature to the consumers. We talk about changing Mother Nature to the producers. The main source of who is creating this plastic in the first place. It's the same goes with doctors. I don't really like doctors because they are not inventing uh, a thing to 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 stop the source of the problem. They're only doing is to solve the problem. They solve the problem. You took up the sickness, but you didn't find the source of the sickness and change that. No, not many people are doing that. People say, "Oh, you got fever. I have a solution for your fever," but nobody is asking where does the fever come from. That's what I think.
Yeah, it's to give a funny example, right? It's like whenever you bring your car to the foreman, okay, to the mechanic, then you tell the mechanic, hey, I got this problem in this engine. Can you help me to fix it? Okay,
Exactly.
then they'll do everything in their power to change everything until the problem goes away. So they don't really fix it, but they just change it until there's no problem left.
I understand what you're saying. Yep.
But to actually give you a good perspective, like why does the manufacturers don't push out more biodegradable stuff to even the low end people or the low income people is because of cost.
Cost.
Yeah, to make the biodegradable stuff, it is still expensive.
Expensive.
That is why
Expensive.
you don't have a lot of people adapting to the biodegradable stuff. It still costs a lot. So in the end, people will still value the money that they make, right? If you talk about people who are selling to the low income group, right? Like the hawkers, okay, the grocery stores, the KKs, all those stuff, they operate on a really tight profit margin. So the packaging, the plastic that they use, eventually, if they want to get a biodegradable stuff, it will eat into their margin, meaning the people, the hawkers, they'll make less money if they use biodegradable stuff. Sure, it's good for the environment, but it's not good for my immediate. Now, this is where the short term, the short sightedness of human beings come in. They only think about their problems right now. They do not think about the problems in the future that will cause because of the continued use of a single use plastic. So, this is where the problem comes. You cannot actually change the human being's behavior because they will still value short-term profit over the long-term benefits to the environment. So it's hard unless the manufacturers themselves are willing to to take the
Change.
loss, but they are not likely to take the loss because if they are operating under a corporate structure, the corporate structure basically is to make money for the shareholders. So they are not going to be doing
Happy.
charity. So it's like a chicken and egg problem. You don't know where to start and you don't know where it ends or you don't know how it comes from. It's just like you know they are the problems, but you don't know where to start, where it actually begins. Right? You can blame the consumers for simply throwing the rubbish,
Yeah, I agree.
But you also can blame the people for not making more biodegradable plastic. You
Yeah,
also can
true.
blame the middle person for not buying more biodegradable stuff, plastic for packaging. So you don't know where to start,
And
right? But the
I,
one thing that you can start, right, is to just throw less of it yourself, right? If you can gather all of the plastic into a single area, compound it properly instead of let it flying around, then I think it'll be good step, a good step towards change.
I know, no, I 100% agree. In fact, I don't use plastic actually. I bring bag in my bag together
Mm,
with water bottles, so I don't buy waters outside. So I
mm,
just use everything by myself. The only thing that I'm still trying to get used to is fork
mm,
and spoon, metal fork and metal spoons. But
mm.
that's a bit hard.
Why? Why metal fork and metal spoon?
Because when you go to hawkers and stuff, they give you plastic fork and plastic spoon, and you
Mm.
like it or not, you have to throw them at one point. Yeah, even if you throw in the recycle bin, you're still using it. You're still supporting the demand for it.
Yeah, I think it's just the world that we are living in right now. The disposable culture.
Right? Do
Everything
you
is disposable right now.
do you have like a motto or principles that you follow?
Like for what area? For what specific area?
Do you have like one in general, like you
Hmm.
can use for everything?
Currently, right now, don't have, don't have. It's like it's just like all over the place. Because one thing that I'm not good is like focus. Right, focus is one thing that I suck at.
Really, I think you're one of the
Yeah,
best
because
compared to everyone I know.
I'm easily persuaded by the argument. Now, this is where one of my strengths become a weakness, right? Empathetic or empathy. So when you are empathetic, you can sort of try to understand both sides of the argument. So that's why this is where a strength become your weakness, become my weakness. So I'm empathetic, but up to a certain point, I cause myself more internal struggles than 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 good. So I'm able to understand both sides of the argument, and sometimes I'm torn between the both sides. So for example, like knowing when to stop. So do I stop even though I started with zero and just find a corporate job to pay the bills? Or do I just continue this to get more out of it, hopefully get more value to pay back the bills? So I'm easily torn. So you got the argument of, yeah, you can share
Debate.
work a corporate job and still make your freelance thing work, or you can just go straight 100% into freelance so you have nothing to fall back on, right? So it's like yeah, there's no motto, so I'm easily persuaded if the argument makes sense.
See,
Yeah.
I have the same problem actually, but the reason why I ask is
Mm,
because I have few that I actually personally I don't know who else does this.
mm,
I have something called principles.
mm.
Do you know who's Ray Dalio?
Yeah, he's the guy that wrote Principles.
Principles. No, I've never read the book. I've never
Mm,
read the book, but I know the concept behind what's the book about.
mm,
I have a list of principles that I read every single morning. The first thing I do every morning, I just click on my phone, I just read it through. For the past, I don't know, 3 4 months now,
mm.
consistently every single day without a miss, I've been reading my principles so I don't get off track. Like you said, you can see the both side, so you
Mm.
need to know when to say yes, when to say no,
There's a bit of lag.
what. Yeah.
There's a bit of lag.
Um.
Suddenly pause. Okay.
Okay. Um. Generally, I think my general motto is there is always a way in
Mm,
everything you want to do. If you want something, you're probably already doing it. If you're
mm.
lost, that means you are in the right time to get lost. You
Yeah.
just gotta find a way out. But there's always a way. You're not going to stuck in this situation for a long time.
Yeah. That's really interesting. But it's hard to say that you're not gonna be stuck in a long time, because when you are at
You
that time,
you when at the time you
you are
cannot.
at the time, it feels like a really long time.
I know. Yeah, you. That's the thing. That's the beauty about
That that's
life.
the that's the again the short-sightedness of human beings, right? The short-sightedness. You just see what is in front of you right now, so you just think it's happening forever. Yeah, but then that is and again is why all those daily uploads that makes it really interesting. So because when you're actually like Gary Vee or Casey Neistat, when they are actually successful, they have stuff to throw back. Back then, I started out with nothing, zero studios, and right now moving to LA, especially with Casey. He moved to
Hey,
LA. Yeah,
has he moved?
yeah, he moved to LA. He left New York.
Yeah, I know. His
Yeah.
family's in LA. Most of his family member.
Hmm. Like, do you watch any of the YouTube videos right now? Like, who do you watch or what videos do you watch on YouTube?
Very very good question. I I don't I
Don't
don't,
watch.
I'm not in social media. The
Mm,
only reason why I go to Instagram because my girlfriend communicates to me through Instagram. The only
mm,
reason why I go YouTube is just to listen to song. I'm audiophile. I
mm,
really love music. Um, I don't use Facebook. Uh, I once in a blue moon I go Tumblr because Tumblr has very good pictures of architecture and design and art.
mm,
That's it. Everything else is I just Google search. That's it.
mm.
I don't have the interest to keep myself updated in this world. I'm busy living my life. I got no time
Yeah.
to yeah. I feel like once you use your phone and stuff, you get the pressure of what's this guy doing or oh, this is interesting, you change your mind. You have empathy, right? You can see the
Yeah.
good thing of both
Yeah.
sides, right? I'm easily persuaded. So I see, oh, plastic is having a big trend now. I think I should start a business in biodegradable thing. Or cryptocurrency got something going on. I should start my business around cryptocurrency. So I avoid them because I can easily get distracted. I'm easily persuaded. I know my weakness.
Mm. Yeah.
That's one thing.
Especially like when you talk about the social media stuff, right? The things that you avoid, their job is to keep you using as long as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their
Like,
job is
like
to
this is not rare. This is not talked about as much. But when you actually think about it, the people who are shaping your thoughts are actually those software developers, the algorithm makers of all those social media platforms. They are in charge of making you angry. They are in charge of showing you what you like. They're in charge of showing you what makes you feel something.
they're
So
the one who controls your decision.
yeah, it's really scary. It's
Yeah.
100% scary.
I've heard a talk about Google algorithm
Mm,
and Facebook algorithm. And man, it's one of the most scariest podcasts I've ever heard
mm,
by Tim Ferriss.
mm,
Tim Ferriss and one more guy. And I stopped halfway. Halfway I stopped because the things he said, it has to do with our decision making skill. It's
mm.
all been directed and curved already. So any new business that comes up, will never ever come to you. You are always being controlled already. They know what you're going to decide in the next 1 week already. And that's what they will advertise you on psychologically, statistically. So it's really scary. But it's also at the same time, it's hard to have free will. You
Mm.
have free will. It's just hard to live in free will in today's society.
Yeah, it's much harder, especially when you get hooked on
Yeah.
to the cool aid that we know as social media.
Yeah, instant gratification. You get instant dopamine.
Instant, everything just comes instantly, and it all goes away instantly as well. So
Yeah,
then you
you
are
know,
constantly in the search for the next thing,
for
right?
more,
For
for more
more.
and
Like last week is just bottle cap challenge. This week is something like treadmill challenge.
Isn't it the old couple, the old face thingy?
The old face thing, yeah.
The old face thing, yeah, my girlfriend and my sister were talking about it. I was like, what is it? Then
Yeah.
I just click on Instagram. The very first thing is one celebrity having old face.
Hmm.
It's crazy.
And when you actually like the one thing that blew up, especially if you look at all those technological news on privacy, right? The thing that blew up was the privacy usage of the content through Face app. Face app actually has this the terms and conditions for the content that is used. So you are basically helping upload your photos to a database that someone in the future that maybe eventually has like bad intentions that purchase the company gets all this user data that is uploaded voluntarily by people, then they can just locate you, influence you, do whatever they want with your information.
Yeah, that's what
That is
Facebook is in trouble for right these few months.
actually when it's good that you bring up Facebook. Like Facebook right now, they are getting much more deeper. Okay, when you talk about integration, you have the horizontal, you have the vertical. Facebook right now is planning to launch their own cryptocurrency,
So it starts with F or something.
like Libra.
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 Wait, give me 1 second. Wait,
Hmm.
hello. Sorry, boss. My girlfriend called.
It's okay, boss. But please, no names, right? Don't put any names because right now someone probably will be watching, so don't say any names. So with
Okay.
that said, Facebook, Libra, when you actually think about Facebook and their role in terms of launching their own cryptocurrency, it's way more scarier than the surface level because they get to decide who use their currency. This is like a political argument where in America you have the left and the right people, right? The left
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
those progressives, the right as all those like conservatives. So you see it in a lot of multiple social media platforms that you have people being deplatformed, meaning those people are no longer able to use the services of Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. So with that said, with Facebook launching their own cryptocurrency, they essentially have control over who gets to use the payment, who gets to buy stuff. But it's still far away from actually going global. But then Facebook has this potential to go global with it since they already have 2 billion people using their services. So it's just a matter of time before that Malaysians or Europeans gets to use this Libra payment. Then Facebook gets to control what businesses you can buy from, right? Because Facebook has their own policy as with any social media platform. So if you violate their policy, they can stop you from using it. And it just sucks to be you, where you cannot buy groceries anymore, where you cannot pay for your petrol anymore.
Yeah,
So
your life is like controlled. That's
it's
really scary.
controlled by Big Brother, Brother Mark. So it's really scary. Like, have you read this book?
Brother Mark.
Have you read this book, 1984?
I know, by George Orwell.
Yeah, it's it's something crazy that is actually happening right now. When you think about it,
It, yeah, where you lagged for a bit. You
yeah,
what is
there's this problem. Yeah, lag a bit. So let me just repeat again. Okay, 1984 is actually happening right now.
Oh, that's why it's popular everywhere. I go library, go bookstore, so it's everywhere now.
Yeah, it's crazy in 1984 happening right now. In the book itself, I think the book is really boring in terms of the love story. But what is captivating is the world building, the world itself. The book has this ideology that an authoritarian figure controlling everybody through thought crime, double think, news speak, and the invention called the telescreen. So when you actually think about it, it's actually happening right now. Telescreen, right? The screen right now that is known as our external hard disk, our mobile phones, our handphones, they are some sort of telescreen. And when you think in terms of newspeak is basically some form of political correctness. There is a language that you can say that will not trigger people to call you a racist. They will not trigger people to call you a sexist, a feminist. So those are the languages that that we are being confined to using, and it's also a way to actually control people. Because when you think about languages, if you cannot think of the word to express yourself, that state of emotion or that state of being doesn't exist because there's no word to express it.
Yes.
So, like for example, if there's no this is if the word freedom, for example, doesn't exist, we will still be in slavery type of form, right? So that is why the book 1984 gets us to realize, because they put everything, these things that we talked about, in a structure that is fictional, but then we can see it happening. The words that we are using slowly shrinking, like the vocabulary right now, we are definitely shrinking a lot because a lot of the words in the dictionary are not used. So the people who are in charge of making the dictionaries, they are constantly updating for the latest words. Then the less used, they will just throw it away. So
It's great.
scary.
It's scary, yeah. Yeah. I think that's why learning language is important though. In Portuguese there's a word called saudade or
Mm.
saudade,
So that.
meaning sweet memories of bitter moments in the past. Means
Mm.
you in that moment it was very painful, but right now thinking about it, you are thankful that it happened.
So that.
Saudat. So when people like go around and say, I had a Saudat
Mm.
moment, like that was I just remembered and I feel a bit Saudat.
Mm.
It's like when it happened, it was so bad, but now looking back, I'm thankful that it happened. It's a sweet thing that it happened. In English, there's no word.
Yeah, in English, there's no word. There's
Yeah.
no, or maybe we just have a limited vocabulary. That's why we can think of these words. But then, that I cannot think of one that captures Saudat. So,
One more thing. I was learning about language. I forgot from where. In Chinese, I
mm,
didn't know the reason why. If you notice that Chinese people, when it comes to numbers, when they count, they always go back to Chinese. They
mm,
always go back to Mandarin. They don't count in English. Do you know why?
why?
Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Mm,
After 10, it's 11,
mm,
12, 13.
mm,
It's a freaking whole new words. In
mm,
Chinese, it's 1, 1. It's
mm,
2, 2. It's 1, 2. And
yeah.
when you do mathematics, also, it's 1, 2 plus 3, 4, and then you
Mm,
get like 4, 6, something
mm,
like that. You for children to memorize in English, it's like 100 different words. But for
mm,
Chinese, you got to remember only 10 words,
mm,
10 numbers, and you can
yeah.
use the 10 numbers again and again and again and again.
Yes.
You see that? I
Yes.
didn't know that's why Chinese people, they always count back in Chinese, even though they are
And,
need in
mm,
the point.
and that is why there is this type of stigma or a stereotype that Asian people are really good at math.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
hey,
Because
bro,
for
you
them,
just
it makes sense. It's easier. Like imagine if you are drawing sticks to represent one, okay, like the Roman numerals. One
yeah,
stick is one, two stick is two, three stick is three, right? Then it makes sense. up until you hit this letter V, which is 5.
Yeah.
Then it suddenly doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, there's
Right.
V1 and V
Yeah.
like 2 stroke, and then X, and then it goes up to M and W. I saw this few days ago. It's really interesting.
So it doesn't make sense anymore.
It doesn't make sense to
In Chinese, you just get this same 10 characters, then you can just use it up to 100.
Yeah,
100, then you get a different character to represent 100, but then 1 to 99, you can use the same 10 letters to represent it.
exactly.
Yeah.
You don't see any new numbers like 20, 21. It's like okay, we understand there's 20, and then there's 30, and then there's 40, and there's 55 rather than 55.
Mm.
Yeah, things like that.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, every language has this uniqueness.
Mm.
Every language, I didn't know. Chinese has this numerology. Um, Tamil has poetry. Their poetry is, I think, it's unbeatable by any other language.
Mm.
French, it has the most emotional language. French. English is the most business language. We have the most business terms in English. That's why they work hard the most in America. Things like this. Yeah. One more thing. The people who live in Eskimo, in Igloo, I don't know what culture they are. In
Mm.
English, we have one word for ice. It's called
Mm.
ice. People who live there, they have 66 words for ice. 66, bro. 66 words for ice. So you imagine that. So depending on where you live, your culture, respect people's language. They do what they do for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, and back to 1984, going back.
I think the language, right? We live in such a great place where we can speak multiple different language. Like most of the people, they will know probably at least 2 language: English, okay, Malay, Tamil, Mandarin, whatever, right? They know at least 2. So it just gives more opportunity to create more contextual stuff.
Okay.
Because if you think in a language, right? Like if you actually think about what language you think in, you discover if you think in English, you're much more westernized. If you think in Mandarin, you're much more conservative. If you're thinking in BM, for those who are not fluent in speaking in BM, you probably have a mix of rojak words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I ask you a question. I got this trouble.
Mm.
What is the translation for the word layan? Like aku
Lion,
layan kau. Yeah. Saya layan awak. In English is?
friend. Is it friend? I don't
No,
know
no, no.
what is lion.
It's lion is like
I fight you.
no. I see. The problem is I cannot find any word in English. I've been struggling for 1 week now. Like
Lion.
like like you go to the counter and that
Mm.
guy in the counter, they don't layan you. They ignore you. They don't prioritize you like that. They don't look at you. They don't layan you. They ignore you.
Should be ignore if you explain it in that way.
Ignore. What's the opposite of ignore?
Aware.
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 I don't. There's
I
no
also
word for
don't
the
know.
word lion. I cannot. I'm struggling with this for 1 week now, and Google doesn't help us. So I don't know.
Because Google isn't primarily a BM language, or maybe
Yeah.
there's not enough people feeding it BM stuff, so that's why you don't have the word lion translation out.
Shit, man. Yeah, that's one.
I think this is the longest. We are hitting almost 90 minutes, almost a football match.
Oh, match. That's good. And
We-
I hope I have managed to give you what you are looking for.
Yeah, I don't even if you didn't give, it's like a good type of way to actually understand the world through talking and listening to people. So, oh, there's a bit of lagging. Yeah. So
Um,
it's like a good type of way to actually understand, listen to other people's perspective, and it's just like a really relaxing time. It's a relaxing
not to
time.
stress. Right,
Yeah.
right.
So you don't have to think about the immediate stuff. You can just talk bullshit all day, but unfortunately, we cannot talk about it all day.
And like Joe Rogan's talks like that, very
Yeah.
abstract,
Like, have you thought about why Joe Rogan podcast works?
very natural flow.
Very natural. It just he is a really smooth person. Like you can talk about. Like the one thing I noticed from Joe Rogan, right? And the one thing I'm missing is when I will review back some of this footage because I will chop it up into small bits. Then I'll notice there is opportunities for the person to expand more on this because they
Mm-hmm.
mentioned it. But I never use this opportunity to expand more on it. Joe Rogan does it. He expands everything.
And if one topic links to another topic, links to another topic, links to another topic,
He
that
is
that
very good at that.
is very good.
Maybe
Yes, that's amazing actually. That's amazing.
maybe it's the product of doing it 1,000 times. So
Yeah,
he probably is natural.
yeah.
Yeah.
He can talk to anyone.
Anyone.
A zoologist, a MMA fighter, a doctor who is a journalist in Iraq for 5 years. Doesn't
Do
make sense.
do you know why he can talk to anyone? Because he always stays grounded to his topics that he knows best.
Mm,
Like
he relates.
if you go down to the comments, right, you'll notice that the same comments will happen throughout most of the videos. So do you smoke DMT? Do you
Yeah,
smoke weed? What about the chimps, the monkeys, the
yeah,
chimpanzees?
yeah. He's an advocate for marijuana in US. He's an ambassador advocate.
Okay, here is where Joe Rogan is different from the rest of the podcasters or people who interviews. He speaks really passionately on stuff, right? For example, the marijuana. Okay, he speaks a lot of weed and the weed usage. He even have people who are against the usage or legalizing of weed. So he would just go into this topic and explain, get people to understand why legalizing weed is important.
He
And
does
it's
that.
yeah. And I think that because in Malaysia, right, marijuana is still illegal,
Yeah, don't
right?
tell me about it.
It's still illegal, and I don't think it is safe to actually talk a lot about marijuana. Is
Not
it
at all.
safe to talk about it? Like, will the police come banging on your doors? You will talk about marijuana.
I no, I hope not. In fact, you can actually grow here in Malaysia. You can grow, but you
Mm.
cannot consume or use. You can only use it to transport to other country, export it to other country for
Mm.
medical purposes. Nothing else. Yeah, I think you can talk about it. Yeah,
Can talk about it
I think you should be able to talk about it.
because I
I no,
think, yeah,
as long as you don't take action on it, I think it's fine. But
you don't smoke it, right? If you don't smoke it, then
yeah,
you're fine.
smoking, I think that's the last resort already.
Mm.
Communicating, I think it's free speech.
Because I think that marijuana has a negative connotation in the Asian culture.
A lot, trust me.
And I think most of this is because of the propaganda being done by, like, it was done at first in the Western world,
Mm-hmm.
where the tobacco industry wrote a lot on all these negative side effects of marijuana usage. So that's why those negative stuff carried on into different parts of the world.
Oh,
Like the tobacco industry actually did medical research and they publicized, they funded all these bad campaigns, the
mm.
negative awareness campaigns about marijuana usage. So that is why there is this built up misunderstanding of marijuana, and
It's
that
hard to change
actually
also.
comes over into our world because our world still has tobacco. We people still smoke tobacco, right? Then the argument for those people who are for legalizing marijuana is basically those people that says you do not have documented cases of marijuana causing cancer, but you have documented cases of tobacco causing cancer. So why is it legal to have people dying but illegal for have people to smoke and nothing happens? Right. So something like that. I think it's just understood drug. And especially if you talk about it with your older generation, right? They
Yeah,
will
that's
instantly just get a mouthful. They'll just scold you for talking crazy.
yeah. I've tried speaking about it to older generation, to people who only live in Malaysia, and it's not easy because of conditioning.
Mm,
The society has been conditioned in a certain way to think that this is this, and for people to accept that this is different, it's
mm,
not easy. It's very, like you said, it's very hard to change people's mind. It might take time. It might take new strategy. It might take, I don't know, so many factors, but possibilities are there, but it's very difficult.
mm.
That's one topic, one very long topic that Joe Rogan's really into. I think
Wow.
he asked Elon Musk also about it.
Yeah, he even got Elon Musk to smoke weed.
I know because of that, the government went through SpaceX door and they knock on the SpaceX door. Say,
Yeah,
so we,
he got into a lot of trouble. I think he even resigned as the chairman of Tesla. So he's just the CEO right now. Yeah.
terrible.
Caused a lot of problems. And again, it's the negative perception of marijuana. So
It's not easy. I think when we are old, so we will have some things that's very hard to accept.
yeah.
Learning to just step back and ask you question, I think it's easier.
And you can see right now, through your example of the mobile phone having a new user interface.
Oh man, dude,
Yeah, you can see you are living that example.
dude, that's very good. Okay, one more thing. You know, nowadays earphones is all wireless. You just put it on your ear.
Hmm.
I cannot get used to that. I need this wire dangling thing. You know, I don't feel safe. But a lot of people are using it
Hmm.
everywhere these days. So
That's a lot.
that's one.
The one thing I hate about all this wireless thing is I forget to charge it.
Oh yeah,
You forget to charge it, and it fucking sucks. Because when you want to use it, there's no battery.
there's no battery.
Yeah.
I agree. You have to condition yourself. Like your phone got no wire dangling, but you already conditioned. You know you need the charged phone.
Hmm.
So in the future, almost everything's wireless. You just got to know.
Wireless stuff.
Mm. Yeah, okay, I have something to say. I
Hmm.
just want to recommend if you're into reading books, there's only one book I'll recommend that I think everyone should read. It's called Mastery by Robert Greene.
Mastery by Robert Greene.
Yeah, that's it. It's the best book on. It's a book that I read like 6 7 books ago, but it's by
Hmm.
far the best book I've ever read, and I think every school student should read it as the Form 5 or Form 4 requirement book in English or something. It's something you have to do throughout your life at one point. Yeah. It's simple to follow, it's understanding. If you don't have to follow, so you're still going to end up following at one point. And it's a very beautiful book. Mastery by Robert Greene.
Mastery by Robert Greene. What does the book talk about?
It talks about how to identify your passion, your purpose, and then the next chapter is like how to cultivate, and then the third chapter is how to give back to society. I know our generation, we are bombarded with like our age 25, 20 something, we are bombarded
Hmm.
with people asking me, so uh, what are you going to do now? You just finished your degree. Or even nowadays people are questioning, do you need a degree? Like big companies, they don't need a degree anymore, they need
Hmm.
skills. So high school students are bombarded with this question, like, so what degree are you going to do? What degree, what course, how many years, which university?
Hmm.
This very very difficult question. And if you're into Facebook, Instagram, all that, you already have a decision because these companies, they know how to advertise to you. So this book, it breaks down everything
Hmm.
in the most easiest form I've ever seen in any other books. You know Peter Drucker?
Heard about him? There's a bit of lag. Heard about him?
You, you heard about him, Peter
Yeah,
Drucker?
heard about Peter.
Uh, Ryan Holiday?
No, no, yeah.
Uh, okay, you know Bill Gates? You know Isaac Walterson? The
Yeah,
guy who wrote Steve
the
Jobs?
road job, yes.
Yeah, like every all this author I look up to, in Robert's Green book, he summarizes what they have done and said in a very beautiful form. It's a very easy read, but it's a thick book. That's about it. But they are so worth it. It's one of the book I wrote notes. I wrote notes. I have the notes here also. I always refer back the note every 3 months to just refresh my mind. So I don't forget. He speaks on mentorship also. So that's why I think having mentor is important. One of the chapter.
You know, there's this person that Joe Rogan had on, I think 2 months ago. His name is Naval.
Nada?
Naval, Naval, Naval. Okay. Naval has this idea that it doesn't matter how many books you read, but it matters how well you read, how well you understand the content of the book. So you can read a lot of books, but do you actually understand all of the books you read?
Good question.
Yeah.
I realize
if you read a lot of books, there comes a point where the numbers don't matter as much as what is inside the book anymore. Yeah.
Exactly. 100% agree. There's no point reading a book if you don't actually practice it at one point. I have this friend, he's in another university in US. He's a Malaysian. I told him, so what book are you reading now? He said he really stopped reading all the books in life. I asked him why. He said he realized one thing. He's been reading books, getting knowledge, but as fast as he gets the knowledge, he'll forget about it the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks, he'll forget about it. So what he does is, he write down. Oh, sorry. It's my phone. So what he does is, he write down notes. And then every 3 months, he recall and practice. And he doesn't rush to finish anything. He just takes his time. So I learned that from him, and I also take notes. I have a list of notes that I look up to every 3 months. And it does help. It sticks in your brain.
There's a bit of lag. That's
about it.
Yeah, there's a bit of lag.
Nothing much.
Yeah. Not think much. We covered a lot of stuff. So it's already going to be near 1 hour, 40 minutes. So yeah, it's really interesting, really nice, really kind of you, generous to share.
Yes.
Yeah. And like it's basically a great training ground for maybe your future endeavors that you need to rely on talking or getting your point across, right? Because I encounter people who are like, listening is one thing, but then sometimes you have to explain your points or your thoughts in your brain concise. So it's a good place to practice it. Whatever that is in your head, you can explain it clearly to other people to understand. That is a really amazing gift.
You have to understand what that person understands before you compromise what's in your head, pass it on. Sometimes whatever you speak, that it doesn't go into the person's head.
Like there's one thing that is really toxic when it comes to listening, right? Some people, they listen, but are they actually listening?
I think your word is hearing. They are hearing but not listening.
Yeah.
They are looking but they're not seeing.
I'm gonna go into really specific. Like some people, I know this because I do it myself. I listen, but there is no intent to listen. There is the intent to talk back after listening, after you're done speaking. Then I'll just shoot back the question at you. So there's this type of toxic culture going on in listening. So listening isn't as simple as it seems.
It's a skill.
Yeah. It's a skill that takes time to develop, as well as also being asked some questions. So you also have to develop some of the answering skills. So, like, has it ever occurred to you that most of those charismatic people, they always have their stories ready? It's like they put it in their gun, okay, something like that. Then they just pull it out. It's loaded. They just shoot. Then there's a story for
Yeah.
whatever scenario.
Yeah. Uh, stories is the best thing that you can say. That's why I always talk in terms of stories as well. It sticks. It has emotion. It has truth to it.
Maybe it's time to just start writing down all the stories for the scenarios that you can use. Like for example, it happens to be helpful in interviews, especially when you are in the corporate culture or corporate interview, right? So a story, for example, a story for discipline, a story for your weaknesses, a story about your strengths. So you can just go on and just straight away talk about the story where you discover your weakness. So I discovered this weakness of mine through, like, there's a funny story about this weakness and how I discovered it, and blah 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 blah. Then it gets like it puts yourself in another level when you actually
Yeah.
have a story. Yeah. And this style of story actually takes a lot of practice to, it's like stand-up comedy, right? You have to keep on, sometimes
Mm.
it works on the first hit, and sometimes it's just bombed. It's just like dead silence on the first try. Then you just
Yes,
have
it's going to try. Now, this is something I know I'm going to practice it. I'm going to have a set of stories. I
yeah.
agree, though. I agree. Thinking about it, every charismatic people, they have some form of stories to tell you.
Hmm.
Good practice that.
Okay. Okay. So I think that is it. So unless you have any sudden thoughts that you want to say, you can just go on longer. If there's no, then just have a good night.
Are you? I don't have anything to say to the audience. I have something to tell you, though. You're joining us tomorrow, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'll see
Yeah.
you there.
It's better not to make plans over the internet recordings, but since I'm gonna upload it late, so it's okay. But then in the future, next time if we are recording stuff, so or if you are recording stuff, it's never a good thing to review your future plans
Oh,
unless you are doing it for publicity. Because if you review it, right, and for example, if you upload it daily, it will actually gives away your position. Then there may be some bad actors or bad people that misuse this information, right? So
they know your next chess piece.
they know your next place, so
Yeah.
they know where to find you. So it's pretty dangerous.
Oh, that makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Unless you have a marketing campaign going on, then it's perfectly fine. But if you don't have, so better to think twice about revealing stuff, right?
Right. Are you going to chop it off?
Huh?
Are you going to break it down?
No, I'm not chopping anything off. So I'm leaving all of this
As it is.
as it is, uploaded it as a 1 hour, 42 minutes, 45 minutes clip.
Good.
Like probably not, I would expect zero people to watch it. Because right now, I think especially with where I'm at, like zero experience, zero brand around my name, zero brand around, like unfortunately I have to say this, but around your name. So we are not famous people, so nobody are actually interested in what we are saying, so they won't probably spend the hour listening to us.
Mhm.
So it's just like a
Practice.
way to find what I want to do, right?
Mhm.
Mm. If it's
It's a
fun,
it's
then I
a
can continue
practice.
doing this thing.
It's a
If it's not
practice
fun,
ground.
then I can just call it off. Yeah, it's a practice.
Practice ground. I watch your other videos and it's good. I like how you like have the good title for each video.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. But hey, actually, I discovered this thing about YouTube. It happened a few weeks ago. So YouTube is actually like a search engine.
Oh,
Yeah, search engine. So if you title your videos properly as like in queries, answering, oh, there's a lag. There's a
yeah.
lag. Okay. So if you title your videos like a query, a question type of title, for example, how spicy is this meat, or how much do you spend on this thing, right? You put in the question type of title, you can actually get your YouTube videos to appear on the search result on Google. Yeah.
And
So if you are not famous or if you don't have that much followers, right, or you're trying to go viral, you try to use this search engine mentality to title your videos. So it gives much more exposure. People can actually search something and then you are one of the search results. Instead of people searching your name and you are not famous, so nobody will search for your name. Something like that. Yeah.
that makes sense.
So
Knowledge.
I'm actually titling all the small clips of all these conversations into like a question type of clips. Like, is it safe to talk about marijuana in Malaysia or something like that? So people will actually search it, then oh, it's no nothing happened to these two fella, then okay, it's safe. Yeah, but I'm not sure. Is it okay to talk about it? Hopefully nothing bad happens. Yeah.
You know, it's an open-ended question and it's a gray area.
Mm. Okay.
Of
So
course.
that's it. Thank you for sharing. Right. We are gonna end this right here.
Beautiful.
So
Thank you, boss.
see you in the other videos or episodes in the future, whatever. All right. That's it. Thank you for listening. We're out.